We're back.
Alrighty. Hey sis.
Hey sis.
My name's Alexis.
I'm Tanya.
And this is a mother-daughter podcast.
Talking about healing and breaking generational curses through constructive communication. And most importantly, healing starts at home. That's where it should start. So when we go out in the world, we can have good, constructive relationships with others. And first, in this podcast, we're going to be talking about trust and triggers.
Yep.
And first, I want to apologize for the delay. Technical difficulties. We are learning. We're new.
Learning. Lots of just learning curves.
And I want to thank everyone who tuned in and supported us and subscribed. Thank you. Love you lots. And I just want to give a shout out to all podcasters because this is definitely challenging and learning. We're learning as we go. That's what I want to just keep iterating. I want to keep iterating. So let's jump into it.
Alrighty. So, trust and triggers. So I defined trust as, well, I actually looked up the literal definition of trust, because when you were sitting there and thinking about it, what do you define as trust?
Okay.
So trust is defined as an assured reliance on the character, the ability, strength, or truth of someone. So that kind of gives you an insight on when you think of, do I really trust this person? When you ask yourself, like, do I trust this person? Do I care for this person? Those 4 words stick out in it to define trust: character, ability, strength, or truth of someone.
Okay, and I want to open up with a scripture that is it's one of my favorite, and that's Proverbs 3:5. And Proverbs 3:5, I just thought it was fitting for this episode because that scripture reads, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding." And I don't know. That just speaks volumes to me because we can't lean on just our own. We should be leaning on I feel like God.
Yeah.
And one that's greater. And also too, that kind of triggers back to what I said in the first podcast. It's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding.
Right.
And so what I did ask Alexis, because I thought this was good, we took the word trust. So each letter in the word trust, I asked that we write a word that describes that letter. And I think this is something good that you can do at home. And what that does in relationships, I feel like it laid a foundation. It gives you an understanding of what someone else's perspective of what they may feel that trust is to them. Because what I may feel trust is, and what you may feel trust is, and there is a definition, but it's different. And it just gives you an understanding of that other person.
Yeah,
and how they look at it.
Yeah, how they look at trust.
Yeah, and not just because you have these set things doesn't mean that that's what that person has.
Yeah.
Okay. So, who's gonna go first? You want me to go?
Let's do letter for letter.
Okay.
So for T, the first T of trust, I put thoughtful. I feel like a person that I can trust is considerate about me and how I feel. I feel like they consider me, they're thoughtful in the ways that they act towards me, and then also their actions and outside of just me, who they are as a person. I feel like that's one of their characteristic traits. They're a thoughtful being.
Okay.
What's your T?
My T is transparency. For me, transparency is important. Being able to be where a person, I feel like with us, like in our family, like I feel like in creating that environment of transparency, you got to be able to, that falls back into, I think one of your, because I also looked up what trust is, and it was about, it had the 5 C's. So I think that has to do with character for me, a person's character. Being able to be, and creating that environment too. So transparency, you got to be able to create an environment where persons feel comfortable to be transparent, to be vulnerable.
Yeah, you have to definitely make it comfortable. No one's just naturally going to want to be vulnerable or open themselves up to you. I feel like that's a big part of trust. Okay, my R is resilient. I hope I said that right.
Ooh.
I said that word.
Okay, resilient. So resilient. Okay. So
I
what does
feel
that mean
like
to you?
I put like a little star. I feel like
Uh-huh.
so being resilient. I hope I used this right definition right. Because we all know I'm terrible at words. But anyway, so being resilient means to be like you can depend on this person. Did I use the word right?
No.
Okay. I don't think I'm saying reliance.
Yes. Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
saying
Okay.
I'm like,
Okay.
no, resilient is something else.
Exactly. But reliant.
Reliance.
Okay.
To rely on someone. I feel like without this, I can't trust you. I feel like if you're not a dependable person, or you're not a person I can go to and trust you to be completely, like you said, transparent and open with me,
Right.
then like the trust is not there for me.
And you said reliance, I put reliable. So reliable to me is the same. Like to be able to count on an individual. Because being able to be reliable, that creates that foundation of being able to be dependable, and like you said, like we just said, just
this
being
person
trustworthy.
shows up exactly as themselves, and like
What you mean? You're saying
like
with
they
being
show
reliable.
like being reliable,
Mhm.
and they're consistent with who they are. Like they're just consistent. They're dependable with who they are. I feel like that is a big part of trust.
Yeah, being reliable, right?
Mhm.
Right. It and that goes back to character.
Yeah.
So just like you're speaking about, like, and I found these from it was called John Gottman's The Science of Trust, 5 C's.
Okay.
And in there, the 5 C's, he defined it as care, communication, character, consistency, and competency. So basically, if you are reliable, that goes back to consistency. So when I'm in a need, when I need you, as a parent, I had to illustrate that characteristic, and I had to illustrate that as a parent, which in return created the transparency of me, and also it built a foundation for you and your sister to trust me.
Okay.
So I feel like relying it's a lot. It's very important. It's very important.
I think it's very important.
Okay.
Righty. You. I put understanding.
Me too. That's what I did.
So I felt like, because when I looked up the word trust, you know, like I said, I'm not good with words. So I had to look up synonyms and like I had to look up like words with the characteristic traits of a trustworthy person. So like understanding, and then just doing my own thing. Understanding, I feel like that's another big one. I feel like in order to trust someone, I'm just looking for an hour. In order to trust someone, that person has to be understanding of who I am, and who I'm growing to be. I feel like I feel like they also have to be acceptable to change and grow. They have to be understanding that at the end of the day, I'm a human. You know, I make mistakes. They just have to be an overall. I feel like they have to be an understanding person. Like you have to. You have to. It takes a curve. It's a learning curve. It's my new like little saying. It's a learning curve when you want to understand someone and grow with them, because you're not always going to understand every single season that someone's in.
Okay.
I feel like initially, but if you have that openness to want to understand someone and to want to understand who they are, I feel like that's a big way that I could see like, oh, I can trust this person. Like they're not against my growth. They're not against understanding or my flaws.
Okay. And so I chose understanding as well because, again, that goes back to my saying, it's not a right or wrong. Because I feel like a lot of times, even as being a parent, you do have to set the foundation in your home, and you do have rules. And when you all were younger, those rules and those guidelines were set one way. And then as you all matured and got older, again, it was a shift. Mm-hmm. So I feel like from going from adolescence into teen into young adulthood, there's been a shift. So I had to develop an understanding of that shift and when it was time to shift. And things that were taught and that were the foundation that was built with you guys, I had to trust that what I laid down, that you all would follow. And I also had to give you the grace of understanding when you all didn't follow it. And it didn't mean that just because when I was growing up, it was done one way, that it made the way that I was raised, that it was right or that it was wrong, because I felt like my mother did the best she could at that time of me growing up. So that's why understanding for me is so important, because along with understanding, it gives grace. You have to have the room for grace.
Yes.
Because if I just say, no, this is wrong, Courtney, Alexis, you can't do it this way, you can't do it.
Grace.
It has to be given in that season, in understanding. Yeah. You have to give and grant a person grace. And understanding is going to be needed from parent to child, like I said, from adolescent, but also too when you go outside the home. Because everybody is raised differently. Mm-hmm. Everybody, so you're going to have to need that grace of understanding.
Because they have different experiences. Just
yes.
It's a whole, you're a different person. You're not two different people coming
Correct.
together. So
correct.
S, I did stability.
Oh, okay. All right, I like that one. Okay.
So this goes back to like the 5 C's that you were speaking of. A person who is consistent with their behavior and their actions, and they're just stable. Like they are showing up.
Yeah. What does stability mean to you, though? What does stability mean?
Stability means to me that you're consistent. Like I feel like stability to me means consistent. Like you're consistent on how you move, you're consistent on how you show up.
Okay.
If there is an alter or a change or a big change, you still drift back to who you are. It's never, it's stability. Like, I don't even know. I feel like stability to me means consistency. Like, I feel like those are going.
So that's one of those C's. So that's like
being consistent
in your behavior.
Being consistent in your behavior and your actions. Those two, I feel like, equal stability.
Okay. So stability, and for me, it was safe.
Okay.
I need to feel that. I need to feel that that safe space. That safe space. I feel like that should be created in every relationship. That safe space is needed. It's needed for me to be transparent. Not so when for me, like, that trust is, I need to be able to, I want to feel comfortable where I can be transparent and not be judged.
Yeah.
I want to be understood.
Yeah.
And I just want to be able where I can be vulnerable, and just be myself. And I feel like if the space is safe, if you make that space safe, a no judgment zone, it's needed.
Yeah.
It's needed because, again, we all fall short. Me as a parent, you as a child, you as a human, me as a human, in the home, even me as a parent. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I need, even being a parent, I need to be able to have that safe space that not every day I'm going to show up at my 100% or I'm not going to show up on point. So I have fallen short as a parent. And as a parent, I want to be able to feel safe that when I do fall short, it's not judged. It's not, counted. Just like when you fall short, it's not counted. Again, it goes back to that you. For me, it goes back to understanding and being able to understand that me as a parent, I'm human, just like you are. As a young adult, you're human. Also, too, as the child, you're human too. So it goes back to the understanding. So I need to be able to feel safe. I need to feel safe, yeah, in order for me to open up and be transparent with the person.
Okay, I agree. I think it's important to be safe. Like, I feel like it's that safety.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking in romantic relationships, like, a man, I feel like, should make you feel safe, because that's like, that brings in that comfortable, that loneliness that you can, like, bring your wall down and kind of open up to them.
Yeah.
And then even in platonic senses, friendships, I feel like being safe enough, especially with women.
Okay.
Because
why you say that?
Because women gossip, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Men gossip too, but just speaking in, like, platonic relationships,
mm-hmm.
Women are gossips. So it's like having that safety with a friend and knowing that, like, I can come to you and open myself up to you and know that this is this conversation is safe between us, and I know you're not going to run off and post about me or talk about me, you know. Like, having that safety in that relationship is really what brings trust, because trust in friendships is, I feel like, a big thing.
Yeah, any
relationship, trust is very big.
Any
platonic or romantic.
Yes. So it's and just piggybacking on the romantic relationship, is being in a relationship with a man. Safety is like key. Safety allows me safety and transparency for me, because people always talk about women not being feminine. So
but you gotta be able to let that feminine, when you're not in a safe relationship, not to cut you off.
Okay. Go ahead.
But if you're not in a safe relationship and your spouse is not making you feel safe, that's when that masculine energy comes out of a woman, because we are natural protectors.
Yes.
So safety in a relationship is key, because that's what's going to bring her feminine energy. That's going to let her be submissive.
Yes.
That's going to let her open herself up to you, and you're going to get all those things that men think they're going to get off from a woman.
Yes.
That natural feminine flow is going to go. That's how you know, I feel like, when you are truly with your person.
Yes.
Because it's natural. It's not forced.
Nope.
It's so easy to be submissive to him.
Yes.
Because you're safe in that relationship.
Yeah.
So.
And definitely. That's basically what I was going to say. Because safety, and then I guess for us, what we're doing, because we're on this S and we're on safety. So that's definitely where that feminine energy, when a woman feels that she can let her guard down, she can relax She don't have to think about different things. She doesn't have to worry about her responsibilities.
That's be a woman.
Yes.
And just be.
Yes.
Like, and just be.
And if a man is in his masculine energy, it's not like you said, it's natural. You're gonna automatically, and the submissiveness is gonna flow. It doesn't even have to be in question, because that woman feels safe. That woman can be transparent.
Yeah.
So yes. All right. Okay.
All right. So final T. Mine was transparent.
Okay.
That was my
Your
final
T.
T.
But what's transparency to you?
Just being honest and being open. Yeah, I like people who just keep it real.
Okay.
Like, just keep it real with me. Like, even if it hurts, even if
that's what I was about to say.
you mess up or you make a mistake or something, you know, that you feel as though can hurt, you know,
right.
I'd rather take that than you lie.
Yes.
Or you hide it from me till I find out on my own or something like that. Or
because at the end of the day, it's still gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's still gonna hurt. Either way, it's gonna hurt.
Either
I
way.
feel like you would get
So
either
to
way,
me,
it's gonna hurt.
I feel like when a person comes to you, with and be transparent, I feel like it allows you to respect them.
Yeah.
I will respect them more.
You respect them more, definitely, because I mean, at the end of the day, you were honest.
Yes.
So
yes, and it allows you to do something with that honesty.
Right. Instead of with, with a lie.
Yes. Exactly. So my T was truthfulness.
Truthfulness.
Yes, truthfulness. So basically, being honest, like we just said, just being truthful. Like being truthful in any scenario, and basically being honest, being truthful, it creates it goes back to transparency, and then it also allows me. For me, I respect you. I respect you more with your truthfulness. Now, just because you tell me the truth, what people kind of like get kind of confused, that's even in a parent-child situation. Even though you come to me and you tell me the truth, and I create that safe space with you, does not mean it's not going to come with a consequence.
Yeah. You have to be okay with what comes behind your truth.
Exactly. You have to be comfortable with that. Yeah. Because, and you can't, and it's not going to be, I don't feel that, and also too in your mind, you can't, because that happens too. I came to you, I was honest, I told you, okay, but there's a consequence that comes with that truth. And you have to have an understanding of that. Yeah. You have to have that understanding.
I think that's my biggest thing. I lie. And so being that I do lie, I think the biggest thing is that when you lie is because you are afraid of what will come behind the truth.
Okay.
You're not ready yet to handle what will come behind the truth, whether it be good or bad,
Right.
So you lie to kind of protect yourself and protect that other person, but in the instance, it's really still hurt between it. It's still a consequence behind the lie at the same time. And I think one thing that always, just to piggyback off of your T, is that one saying that I feel like is lifelong, and now that goes in the back of my mind, is that everything you do in the dark comes to light.
That was uncommon. That was uncommon saying.
Everything you do in the dark comes to light. Come. So
because it's truth. It is truth. Again, truth.
Yep.
The word is bonded on truth. God's word is bonded on truth.
Yep.
So truth. If you want to, and I'm gonna say this, because we were talking about triggers, and I want to say this about trust. When do you feel when trust is first broken?
When or like with?
I'm gonna say this. Okay. Yeah. Like. I feel like
at home.
Okay, you said at home.
Like at home. I feel like your parents. If your parents break your initial trust, no matter where outside,
Okay.
any outside relationship is already gonna have a difficulty. I feel like because your foundation is already broken.
Okay. Okay. And this is going to segue to our triggers, but I feel like our trust is first broken with self.
Oh. Yeah.
I feel like it's first broken with ourselves when we aren't able to trust ourselves. When we aren't taking care, communicating, and being competent with ourselves, because I do believe that we attract who we are, not what we want. So when trust is first broken in us, that is true, because you are responsible for your character. And that's just like us doing this podcast. That's just like us talking about our non-negotiables. So if we don't stick to our non-negotiables, or we aren't communicating to ourselves good, and we aren't just good to ourselves, we are breaking that trust, I feel like, in ourselves. And how do we expect for another human to trust us if we have not yet learned how to trust ourselves? Or we don't treat ourselves with good care? You know, I was just thinking about that. I was like, I don't know, that came to me.
Because that goes back to just loving yourself first, because you can't love it. You won't be able to love anyone when at first you love yourself. So.
Exactly. And so that kind of goes into the leg way of triggers.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that trigger you? Because this is about trust and triggers. What is something that triggers you? When
I get triggered.
So what is a trigger? My biggest trigger when it comes to trust and when is just the inconsistency in someone's behavior.
Inconsistency is like a big trigger. Inconsistency with your words and your actions, because at that point you're just an inconsistent human being. Like nothing you do is consistent. Your words don't align with your actions don't align with your words. You're saying one thing today, then tomorrow you're saying another thing. Just right. Being overall inconsistent. How can you trust or be safe with that person if all they, every day, if you move with your emotions, it's never, you're never going to, I feel like you're never going to be consistent because your emotions change every day. You have highs and lows throughout the whole entire day. Okay. So when you move like that, and you base how you move or how you base how you move and how you feel, because emotions and feelings are two different things.
Exactly. So
when you move like that, you tend to be inconsistent. I feel like everyone has those moments.
Okay.
Even speaking for myself, you have those moments where you move off of emotions. But yeah, just inconsistency is just.
And I think, what creates that? Do you think? And sitting here and thinking about this, because I'm just thinking about me a couple of weeks ago, and being, like my feelings, allowing my feelings to drive my thought process about a situation. But what triggered that? For me, in that situation that happened a couple of weeks ago, what triggered it? Because it was the inconsistency of the other person's behavior. And I think to go a step further, that goes back to that trust in yourself. Since we're sitting here talking about it, it goes back to not me. This is why I say trust is first working with self. It goes back to me not being transparent, not being transparent with the other person about how I was actually feeling. So it's like a 360 in these scenarios. First, it starts with self, and like just to not throw away what you were saying about because you felt like trust is first broken with your parents, and so not to say that.
Well, the home in a sense, so your parents, right? But like, I feel like your home, your parents.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because you feel like, and that's why I just wanted to talk about it because I think that's valid because trust can be broken, like either way. But like you're saying, in the home, somewhere down the line, your trust was broken, and so being that trust was broken, whatever that was, whatever the situation was, again, maybe at that point too, you felt like you couldn't be transparent about what happened, what broke your trust, and that behavior. Let's say for me as a parent, coming from me as a parent, or coming from your father, you probably felt like you couldn't be transparent. You didn't have you also didn't feel safe where you could speak about it. So let's piggyback off of that. So that means you took that behavior and that's in your thought process, and now you use that behavior, you're practicing it with other people, whether it be in friendships, whether it be in relationships, and all of that. So that's why, going back to one of those 5 C's, communication is like so important. Even though we all get tired of talking, but it's so key to any relationship. Because if you never talked about what you felt like your trust was broken, how do you heal from it? How do you gather? And healing means gathering the understanding. How do you do that? So you won't bring it into your relationship, or even if it does show its face, how do you
deal with it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, it's pretty deep. It is. It's just pretty deep. Right? It just makes you think. But those were mine too: inconsistency in behavior and this words in your action. I'm very big on that. Like if you tell me something, and I guess I learned that from just in my childhood. So if you tell me, Tanya, I'm going to be here at 5:00, or you're going to do something for me, I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a show up type of person. Not unless something like that, like I will show. I'm going to show up. So that's definitely a trigger for me. Your words and your actions. Yes.
Yeah. I think those are about this. Those are the same thing.
Okay.
Inconsistency is definitely probably my definite trigger for like the trust that I have for you is now like pending because like you're being inconsistent. So now it's like, can I trust you? Can I believe you? Can I be vulnerable with you? Can I be comfortable with you? Because you're so inconsistent. So.
And my question is, what do you do? Oh, this is another one. What do you do when that trust is broken? Do you first like react, or do you first go back to those 5 C's? Like, do you sit back and think about not reacting?
That would be the question that we leave with.
Yeah, like, do you react on that untrust, or do you first go back to one of those 5 C's where you communicate first when that untrust happens? Do you first like for me? I'm going to be honest.
To even think about not only thinking on yourself but also looking at your partner.
Yes.
How do they handle when their trust is broken? How do they look at trust?
Yeah, and do they retaliate? Because sometimes, and I have, like when my trust is broken and I haven't communicated and I haven't been transparent, I will I have in some instances just led with that and just went and did what I wanted to do.
Oh, yeah.
So I react. So I have react.
Yeah.
So
yeah, most people do react.
Yeah, react first, right? Okay. So this is what we want to leave you guys with. This is our food for thought. Take the word trust.
Mm-hmm.
Each letter in trust.
What does it mean to you?
Yes. And you can use it with your romantic partner, your friendships, and then with your parents. Because I feel like doing that gives you a better understanding of that other individual. And if your trust is broken or triggered, what do you do? Do you react or do you communicate? Until the next episode.